Good evening and welcome to our election special, a special that revolves around the importance of voting in this critical time in our nation's life. And I'm very happy to welcome Joe Troop to Chapel Hill and to Binkley tonight. Joe, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing of late and a little bit about where you're from.
Sure. Well, I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I have been globetrotting since I was a teenager. I lived a couple years in Spain, a couple in Japan. For the past decade, I was living in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I started a band, Che Apalache, that got pretty known in the United States, and we've been touring incessantly up until the pandemic. We were actually on tour when the pandemic hit in March, and my bandmates fled to their respective countries of Mexico and Argentina, and I kind of got stranded in North Carolina again. But I made a pivot into activism through a long chain of interesting events, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been, since I've been back, I haven't been touring with Che Apalache, obviously, kind of like an extended hiatus, I suppose, and I have been trying to get out the vote with, through doing a video series called Pickin for Progress, which is trying to recruit volunteers to help get out the vote, do phone banking, etc., through a series of mini documentaries about progressive people from across North Carolina. So we're illuminating specific progressive people and their stories and trying to encourage people to, I guess, empathize with the situations they're living, you know, and understand that it is really important that they get out the vote this year.
Your music's been described as Latin grass,
right?
That mixture of bluegrass and Latinx music.
Right.
How would you describe that blend of music?
Well, sure. With Che Apalache, we basically took bluegrass techniques and started exploring Latin American folk music with bluegrass instruments and bluegrass techniques. So that's kind of like the instrumentation is, of course, bluegrass, and the techniques and the roll patterns and the music, the technical knowledge of the music was there, but then we just used that and tried to play other kinds of music with it. So it's kind of like an exploration, really. That's what Che Apalache's been doing. My background is, of course, bluegrass, and but I've dabbled in a lot of other genres of music, and 10 years in Argentina will get you hearing different stuff. You know, it's not the same syncopations you'll find in the Appalachian region, and those guys are from Latin America, so they grew up with a different soundtrack, and so we just kind of let ourselves be organically us in the city of Buenos Aires, and we came up with this concept, and we were doing it up until March, and we'll get back to it whenever this pandemic gets, is over or transforms into something. I don't know, whenever you can get on an airplane and fly between continents again, we'll start doing that.
So the music and not just the instrumentation, but the words of the songs have a lot to do with the need for societal change,
right?
And protest in many ways. How have you approached coming to terms with melding all of that?
Yeah, it's a journey. That's something I think about every day of my life. How do you make a more inclusive narrative? I grew up, as an adolescent, I was in love with banjo and in love with bluegrass, but I was a gay kid, and I'm from North Carolina, so there were a lot of issues there. I couldn't meld my loves. I'm not allowed to be what I am and also love this, and this is just not right. So something's going on here. So that was my wake-up call as a teenager. It's just not right. Also, I just think that. I could talk about this for hours, but this musical tradition has been usurped from what it was actually, an extension of the, multi-ethnic world and history this place that we now call North Carolina has. There's not, it's not okay to label bluegrass the Proud Boy soundtrack. It's not that at all. It wasn't that. And there's been a lot of dirty deeds done, particularly since like the Lee Atwater era in the 1980s, like things have gotten pretty, like there's a nasty narrative that has become like the status quo. Like people are actually believe and think in this code that was put upon them, and trying to dismantle that is really difficult, but that's what we're trying to do. Me and a whole bunch of other, you guys, here we are, How do you open up the narrative so that it's not so hateful?
Right.
Or classist. There's a lot of issues going on. So that's what I'm trying to explore. I don't have the answers, but
one of the songs that you're going to do for us is a plea to the U.S. government to fully fund the United States Postal Service.
Yeah.
That was not recorded by Flatt and Scruggs,
Nope.
but it tells a great story. And what's the story behind it for you?
So when I got stranded, I got approached by the executive director of ruralorganizing.org, Matt Hildreth is his name. He's like, "You're stranded. I have this concept. What if you wrote a plea in defense of the Postal Service?" Because everything had, it was pretty clear what was going to happen. They were trying to dismantle the Postal Service. So I immediately said, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I thought about my grandpa who worked in the mail room at Baptist Hospital and how he thought that even the sick and dying deserved to get the mail. And it just seemed like the last bastion of some sort of earnest extension of government that we have in the United States, because everything's been so privatized. So the song wrote itself. I recorded it. My friend Binkley filmed it and put it up online, and then boom, it got written up in The Nation, and it turned into this thing like, oh, so here's this white boy playing the banjo, and it goes against the stereotype. Like it's actually saying, you can be progressive and you can be rural, proudly rural, boldly progressive. Like symbolically, that's I think where that idea caught on. And then so this song kind of was like my pivot into full-time activism. Yep.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'm waiting by the mailbox. He said check is coming soon. $1,200 these pain and pay a bill or two. But no bread will come my way unless I take a stand. Lord, the U.S. Postal Service, darling, needs helping hand. Oh, won't you heed this message? Won't you hear my mournful cry? It's hard to keep your wits about with all this death and dying, but harder times will come our way. On this you can rely, unless we learn to not be fooled by all the dreadful lies. Our government is doing a disservice to us all. To not live across the mail should be against the law. So many men and women out risking their poor lives, delivering goods to our front door despite these troubled times. They make the rounds to bring us mail, they work come rain or shine, and now it seems the government is leaving them behind. I took a lost my livelihood, I'm struggling day by day. All of them say won't bail me out, my corporate crooks are safe. In times like these, it's fair to say we'll need new ways to vote. But if the Postal Service dies, my friends, it's all she wrote. They're well aware of what's to come, choose to do us wrong. If the U.S. Postal Service dies, our right to vote is gone. It's time for us to make demands before it is too late. So for the fun, the U.S. Postal Service, for God's sake.
That's great.
Thanks.
That's great.
Yeah, and it worked. Song was part of a petition that got over 400,000 signatures. there was pressure made. DeJoy had to fess up to his scandalous deeds and what he was actually doing, and the Postal Service is still intact. So democracy can, in fact, work. So that was my wake-up call. Through getting commissioned to write a piece by a brilliant political mind, I thought, okay, maybe there is hope or something. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's good. When we were originally wanting you to be with us, we had said that it was going to be in our season of creation, where we look at what Dr. King called the fierce urgency of now.
Yeah.
Particularly related to the climate crisis. And the timing did not work out for that, but the timing around the climate crisis remains.
Yeah.
And so you have written a song in response to being with us.
Yeah.
And you've entitled it Horizon.
Yeah. It's interesting. I got this. You guys approached me to, sorry, I'm going to be tuning as I speak.
To, do that event, and it got me thinking, I don't have a song that speaks to the climate crisis. And then literally days later, I was asked to perform at an event which also got canceled, but is now tomorrow. I just put this together, like here we are today and there tomorrow, and this all came out in the same week, like, I don't know, months ago. And Extinction Rebellion Youth Charlotte has this really cool initiative, mostly high school students that are seasoned organizers and activists at a very young age, and they asked me to play, and I got them involved in I did an interview with the co-coordinators, Jacqueline Dean and Laura Saavedra, two young women that are fierce and awesome. And so I walked away from that interview and I just kind of wrote this song musically, and I had a sketch for what I thought the lyrics should be about. I spoke to one of my best friends, Abigail Browning, the other half of my poetic heartbeat, and we co-wrote a song. And it's hot off the press, and very it's a crazy year. I have a lot of friends in the West Coast and in Colorado, and watching places that I know well just burn to the ground is kind of terrifying. So all this inspired this song.
Tuned up here. This is called Horizon. You should go into it. Okay.
Mother Earth is burning, holy hell the flames. Cinders rain down hard across creation. Deadly waters rising, frightful hurricanes. What we've left for future generations. Sit and blame each other, wasting precious time. Day by day, a more divided nation. Some folks spread confusion, others tend to fires, boldly voicing righteous proclamation. Love and rage make progress when they are combined, waking stubborn minds with revelations. Call your friends and neighbors, what is right is right. Let us not give in to earth's damnation. Valiente juventud, nos llaman a la lucha. de amor y rabia nos apelan, generación de fuerza manteniendo abiertas las puertas de la Extinction Rebellion.
Joe, that was brilliant.
Thanks. It's cool that this came, that's the spirit working right there. It's like, why do those things happen? Well, the synchronicity, the necessity for a song and that kind of stuff. I followed that. That's like my guiding light. So I took the cue as like, climate crisis. And then literally within days, like, okay, so the song has to happen, but it didn't have to also like make it happen. It just would happen because it needed to happen. Kind of, that's the philosophy I'm working with these days. And I'm going with it. It seems to work. When the need arises, creation will happen kind of philosophy.
So I don't know if stanza is the right word, but the part where you say love and rage.
Yeah.
Take us through just that section.
So love and rage is how this Vietnamese American, first generation American daughter of immigrants named Jacqueline Dean, I think I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She signed her email in the communication we were having, it's before I go and play this event, Extinction Rebellion event. She signed it Love and Rage, and it was like my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, let the kids guide us, kind of like, wow, cool. And that's where Gen Z activists are. They are love and rage. And that's a paradigm shift for us because we are rage on all sides. So, let the kids step up and tell us how it is. And I was just like, damn. So love and rage make progress when they are combined, waking stubborn minds with revelations. Call your friends and neighbors, what is right, let us not give in to earth's damnation. Yeah.
That is just perfect.
Cool. And I also like that I wrote that with a radiant woman who's like, one of my best friends. So it's cool. It's a great, I love this song. Has so many people involved in it. You guys are involved in it. So it's like one of those things that is just a community happening.
It's both brilliant and beautiful. You're doing things with the banjo I've never heard before.
Yeah, that song, that right-hand technique is really from Argentinian chacarera. I've seen it, like Latin America has a lot of this, what they call rasgueo and rasguido, that kind of thing. Like, you'll find that from Colombia down to Buenos Aires. Like, it's a kind of right-hand technique. So I just fooled around with it, and that song is in 6/8, and it's actually, what it is musically is a malambo. And I had no intentions of writing a malambo. It just happened because I have listened to malambo, and it came out for this purpose in some weird way. That's Latin grass. Just.
That's Latin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Bill Monroe meets Jose Feliciano.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's about right.
Okay. So you said the Pickin for Progress and the Get Out the Vote has introduced you to people.
Right.
And in hearing their stories, you've crafted some songs and musical narratives. And so following along that idea and knowing that all politics is local, just down the road in Alamance County, there's Dreama
Caldwell.
Tell us about her and then sing us that song.
Dreama Caldwell is, actually she's running for county commissioner in Alamance County. She had an awful experience. She was the manager of a daycare in Chapel Hill. And a child got left on the school bus by one of the employees, but since she was managing the daycare center, she had to take the fall for this legally and got slapped with a $40,000 bond, cash bail. An exorbitant amount of money for someone who didn't have it. I mean, that's a lot of money, especially before you've been tried. So basically the system as it is today in Alamance County, particularly Sheriff Johnson's prison is effectively stealing money from poor people.
Right.
That's what it is.
Which is part of the...
Mostly people of color.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a racist. He also professes an unwavering allegiance to the notion of Mayberry, and he calls him Andy Griffin. I think he's trying to say Andy Griffith. WUNC did a really good A Tale of Two Sheriffs, which I highly recommend watching the difference between, I think it's Hope County, an African-American sheriff, female sheriff, versus Terry Johnson, who's right up in Alamance County. And he's the kind of people we should actively be denouncing right now. Yeah. And so Dreama,
and continuing to work for the bail bond reform for the
exactly.
state.
Yeah. Bail bond reform, and also trying to uplift candidates that represent, that better represent where they are, you know, like representation is crucial. I got to know Dreama because she was featured, she was an interviewee in my series, Pickin for Progress. She works a late night shift at a hotel. And so anyway, I'm a night owl. I got her on the phone. And she's just really nice person, willing to talk and share her story, you know, lay it out there. And as I was getting to know her, I just started developing this song, and it was a mystical 4 or 5 days of actually writing the sketch of what happened to a person and what that person means for their community. And so this is the rise of Dreama Caldwell.
Alamance County Jailhouse back in 2015, in a place where the biggest crooks get off scot-free. A hard-working mama went weak in the knees, 40,000 cash bail, an outlandish decree. The escorting officer, startled as well, said, "Your magistrate pardon, but that's an awfully high bail." He said, "I meant what I said, she pays up or gets jail." And such was the harsh fate of Dreama Caldwell. Dreama managed a daycare till one summer's day, when another employee made a tragic mistake. The child was left on the school bus, close call but still dread. Luther wasn't at fault, she was destined to pay. When they issued a warrant, she went and turned herself in, and fell prey to a venomous magistrate's whim. Her kinfolk knew of a bondsman, they found a way to post bail. She went home in exchange for a mountain of debt. But that's how Dreama wound up here. Fearless leaders persevere. Sheriff Johnson wants Mayberry, thinks Andy Griffith is real. Another twisted old man with cold-hearted ideals. His prison's raking in millions, stealing bonds from the poor. He takes great pleasure exacting what they cannot afford. Dreama was counseled to take the plea deal, which meant 3 woeful nights locked in concrete and steel, where she stared a sick system point blank in the eye, and vowed from hell or high water, one day she'd watch it die. That's how Dreama wound up here. Fearless leaders persevere. We'll fight on, Dreama, through the years, sent to lead and help us heal. After serving her sentence, life is never the same, with a criminal record tethered tied to her name, or the death growl of Dixie amidst a brutal firestorm. Dreama Caldwell has and she's demanding reform.
That's a journey right there.
And tells a tale.
Yeah, songwriting is pretty cool stuff, man. Try to, you know, it's a journey, man, because it's got to rhyme. Why does it always have to rhyme? You can't just tell it. You gotta wait till that right word.
Yes, yeah. Well, you found them there. I like their names, Dreama. That song has so many contemporary elements: misogyny, racism, trying to make your way past a system that is not in your favor.
Right.
I mean, on and on and on and on, and extreme nationalism or in localism. And that's of course swirling all around this election season.
It is.
And so people's stories can illuminate what it means to persevere, to resist, to persevere, to move on. And they will come in the unlikeliest of forms. And this next song represents that.
Yeah, this next song it was inspired by my friend Rich Hartness. He's an old-time musician, but he's been working at Metrolina Association for the Blind in Charlotte for years and years and years, I guess 20 years or more. And he has a very positive perspective. He wants bridges. He wants to pull people back together. That's his big concept, you know. Also, as a blind person, he understands race in a very interesting way. You know, more often than not, when he was making his commute, when he would be approached and asked whether he needed some help, it's almost always by African Americans. What does that say about white society in the South? What's wrong with us? Like, you know, there's something going on there. I mean, it seems like African American culture has a lot to teach us about goodness and charity, and you know. Anyway, so Rich he just by sharing his story and trying to keep it positive, has this resounding message of love. And then this next song came out of just hanging out with him in preparation for his interview and the episode of Pickin for Progress he's on. So yeah, this one's called Love Along the Way.
Well, all around this country, from the east to the west, everywhere you go, you find the same old mess. Good-hearted people doing the best they can with a mucked-up system that don't give a damn. Now, hold your head if you hold mine. Life on earth is borrowed time, and as long as we're living, we ought to strive to love along the way. I depend on you, neighbor. What we need is change. Let our heels hit the pavement and the peace flag wave. Clear across the mountains over the prairies wide. There's a new day at dawn, but we can't waste time. I'll hold your hand if you hold mine. Life on earth is borrowed time, and as long as we're
long way.
Little positivity
Yeah,
goes a long way these
yeah,
days, you know?
Yeah. That was lovely.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a fun one too. It's nice to try to have faith, you know, and dismantle this situation we got going, this division-based politics.
That's love and justice, love and rage. Love should never suck us into a, syrupy, sweet, Hallmark card kind of mode. Love is active.
Yeah. No, love is sacrifice. You know, love is admitting wrong. Love is humility. Love is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to basically, pride is a huge issue. You know, being able to back down from your own pride.
Your last album and current album is called "Rearrange My Heart."
Yeah.
You, in a Billboard interview, you said that the album is a call to action, a reflection on where we are as a human race right now. Rearranging our priorities means rearranging our hearts when it comes to dealing with a world and particularly a society rife with white nationalism, fear, mistrust, again, that is swirling all around us. So this song that you're about to do, when you wrote it, where were you?
It was the longest writing process I've ever had. I mean, I was in very many places. It was, I guess I started writing it in Buenos Aires. I kept writing it while I was on tour, back in BA, back in North Carolina, back and forth over the course of 8 months or so. I was working with Moises Serrano. The song's about a friend of mine who was born in Yadkin County. Sorry, he was not born in Yadkin County. He was born in Mexico, but he was brought to the States. He's a DACA recipient, and he's an activist and very courageous, to open up to the world about being undocumented and not being afraid. Well, being afraid, but not being so afraid that you don't act. So he's, getting to know these young people who were brought here as children and their trials and tribulations is just very unfair. So this song is about Moises' life. Moises was featured in an awesome documentary film, which I would highly recommend. It's called Forbidden, Undocumented and Queer in Rural America. And so that immediately caught my attention. I met him at an arts conference in Charlotte in 2017, had some coffee with him, got to talking, and then eventually I was like, could I write a song about you? And I did. And this is the song that I wrote with his consent and also working with him, because it went through a lot of different iterations before it got to where it is now. So yeah.
Where is he?
He just moved to Illinois, I think. He was in Yadkin County. His partner is French, and I think he's now living, I know he moved up in August. I think he's in, I don't remember where in Illinois. I know that his partner got a job up there. I think they're both, his partner's an academic. Moises is still, his legality, like his being that he's undocumented, he can't go to Europe. He can't leave the country and get back in. It's ridiculous. I mean, the situation is just absolutely absurd, and it's cruel. He has no recollection of Mexico whatsoever. There's so many people in that same position, and that issue it's being played around with. It reminded me of like gay marriage and how long and arduous that road was, and just psychologically as a teenager, with all of this talk about what is you in such an inhumane way. I feel like that's exactly what DACA recipients are spoken about as if they're not there. It's like, it's terrible. So this song speaks to their plight and what we ought to do about it. It's called The Dreamer.
Shepherds would roam o'er so harsh a land. There the sun beats down like hailfire. Bones mark the path, clear across the sands, forlorn souls upon them walking. Well, poor baby Moses, one but 1 year old, when his mama crossed the border. 2 little girls skirting along in tow, he was crying on her shoulder. Their long journey's end was Yadkin County, Tobacco Road, North Carolina, where a grief-stricken daddy prayed through desperate nights his family'd soon be reunited. Well, Moses grew up playing hide and seek amongst rhododendron branches, but his mama's fear ran mighty deep in the hills of Appalachia. Blue flashing lights through endless nights proved the world was unforgiving. An immigrant child must face a life where dreaming is forbidden. Lord, when all is said and done, and this tired old race is run, is there room for love beneath the sun after all is said and done? Well, sure as sunset fades to dusk and summer green gives way to auburn, into the wilds was Moses thrust for to wade against rough waters. Now you and I can sing a song and we can build a congregation, but only when we take a stand will we change our broken nation. Lord, when all is said and done, and this tired old race is run, is there room for love beneath the sun after all is said and done?
That was gorgeous.
Thank you.
A congregation can take a stand.
Yeah.
A prophetic communities of whatever stripe, congregations, organizations, any entity that wants to take a stand to do the right and seek justice. Has that rearranged your heart?
Where people gathered together to do stuff, yeah. I mean, that's the coolest thing that I'm seeing right now. The Black Lives Matter movement and these protests and this energy. You know, voting is one step in this process, of course, but regardless of the outcome of the vote, that energy is what is going to take this forward. The people. You know, so we got to actively get ready for that kind of thing and engage and get out on the streets and take a frying pan and a metal spoon and make some noise. Like, that's the Argentinian way. You know, I really wish that would catch on in the States. Cacerolazo, you know, it's like, it's not violent. You don't grab your gun, grab a frying pan and a spoon, get 500 other people to do it, stand outside of government centers and beat on them, and that's going to make a lot of racket, and it's going to annoy them. You can't arrest 500 people. I mean, this is the future. This is what's going to happen. if they're going to try to strip away all civil liberties, can't let them do it.
Right, which really places all of this beyond one election cycle, right? I mean, this takes us to a larger place, a deeper place, a higher plane, as it were.
Right. I find it very important, I'm a humanist. I like what people can do for themselves, what we're capable of doing together, and that kind of line of thought. I think change is important because other people depend upon us to do. Juana Tobar is sitting in sanctuary in St. Barnabas Episcopal Church, and she's been there for over 3 years. She does not need to be there. What are we going to do about it? What if the election doesn't go the way we want? What are we going to do about her? What are we going to do about these people? What does it mean to take a stand? And I hope that we can, combine love and rage and get out there. And anyway,
you would appreciate that on Friday afternoons, many of us are right out here on the road with our Black Lives Matter signs and the names of individuals, black individuals, who have been on the receiving end of police brutality to the point of death. And it has been a witness to our common humanity and the dignity of the human life. And one of the things that COVID has brought to the country, but particularly to us, is that you can't ignore this anymore, that you do it, you are imperiling all of our lives. And so there have been some gifts to the pandemic.
Oh yeah, silver linings for sure.
Right. And so your final song is COVID Reflections.
Revelations.
Well, I've been whittling away at this song since about March, April, May. In there, like when I was coming to the realization, okay, like everything's different now. I'm not back in Argentina. There's no music industry. Stuff's different, okay? So, and then there's a lot of food for thought there, like deep reflection and about North Carolina, which is where I found myself. And my plan was always get out. But now it's like, nope, you're going to be here. And so that kind of has led to this song. And it's just kind of where I'm at right now. And in light of how so many white people in North Carolina still have this almost smug and cute view of racism. Oh, he's a good old boy. It's not cute. It's disgusting. It's no longer cute. And so that's what this song speaks to. It's called COVID Revelations. Not about the book of Revelations, I assure you.
Another can of beer. Let me start that over, sorry. I just started thinking about beer. I was like, God, that sounds good.
Yes.
Another can of beer won't help drown out the pain. I'll take a drink in disbelief, wake up and feel the same. The place that I called home is now 1,000,000 miles away. Change came on quick when COVID hit, and here I am today. I love North Carolina, always an open door. My old home state of Cackalack, them sandy pines and railroad tracks, big windy high top mountains that my earthly body bore. But Lord, this love I have is torn. Amigos, the truth is crystal clear. Entre montañas de mentir. Before this awful virus came, a different plague wreaked havoc here. Calls us white men chew on pride like a bloody pacifier. It's time to put on big boy pants and snuff out racist liars. It's time to recognize we overcompensate for the fragility of our own identities by shamelessly fetishizing and appropriating other people's cultures. It's time to make amends for all the stolen land, and stolen lives, and stolen souls that are bought and sold on this God-forsaken soil. This utterly bedraggled and mismanaged, mishandled, ragtag scandal called America. Y'all with me? The future of this land is a bold collective fight. From Cherokee to Walnut Cove, from Lumberton to Goldsboro, and Winston-Salem where I'm from, it's time for us to beat the drum of love and liberation. These COVID revelations. This rumbling's hard to quell. It seizes like a spell. Enough's enough, let's take the reins and hoist the heavenly refrain from deep within our hearts, engulfing spirits, spinning wildly will erupt into a lion's roar. Aye, aye, aye. Change is coming.
It's brand new.
Wow, that is awesome.
Thank you.
That was just great. The recitation, how did that come to you?
I've been trying to put into words what exactly white people in the States, particularly in the southern states, are doing. Because we've been building up the identity, like our identity, like we create this industry around this identity, and this is what a man is, and this is what we do, and this is our music, and this is blah, blah, blah. But if you think about it, actually, no, that's not our music. It's stolen, it's appropriated. Even I play the banjo. I mean, I'm one to talk. I'm just saying, it's time to just recognize what it is. You don't have to be proud. Pride. You don't have to be proud about what you are. You don't have to be so proud. That's overcompensating for your insecurities. It's okay to be insecure, baby doll. It's okay. Just let's just, we can have a good cry and we can talk. We don't have to be so toxically masculine,
And right.
And right, of course. Being wrong is okay. I'm wrong all the time. I was raised to be a hothead, and I am. So I have to work on that. And also, I've got that white man thing that what I want, I will have. And then it's like, actually, no, it's not like that. You have to talk with yourself and be like, you're doing that thing. Other people don't do that, but they see it. And in this society, oftentimes they can't say, you're doing that thing, because of the backlash. Oh, but they know it's happening. The joke's on us. It's just time to put on big boy pants and stop being petulant little babies.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen to that. So, where did you pick up this incredible gift of music?
I was largely inspired by my older brother, Josh. He is a musical soul. He always played around the house, played piano. He's 8 or 9 years older than me, and he's like, come here and sing or do something and play. Just play with music. So music was my whole childhood. It was just play with it. And then when I was 15, I discovered the banjo, and I fell head over heels in love with both traditional bluegrass and the music of Bela Fleck. And back then, I would have never dreamed that my band would be produced by Bela Fleck, and I'd get to meet him and hang out with him, do all that, but it did end up happening. So it's like, my whole adolescence was, I want to be Bela. I never got anywhere near that good, but that was what I wanted to do. And but it was also so I got into world music through Bela's music, and then I discovered all these other musicians. And that's where it started. Just, big other part of this equation was my brother. He was taking me up from Winston-Salem up to Boone, where he was in college in like 1997 or 8 or 6. I may have been only 13 or 14. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but he took me up to his school, and on the way there was a little roadside diner on the side of the road, and he's like, "Oh, we're stopping here. You're gonna like this." And Doc Watson was playing with his friends and family, just in this little diner in Deep Gap, North Carolina, just sitting there, and I got to see Doc. Like I was mesmerized. I'd never seen anything like this. Traditional Appalachian string band music up front, and very humble and very chill. There was like country fried steak and green beans and mashed potatoes and cornbread and all this stuff. And there was Doc, and it was like, what's going on? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So that all of that was happening when I was a kid. So just it's really important to remember that kids are that age, that 13 to 15 year age, that is a lot of stuff going on there. Every little symbol can mean a whole lot to them. You'll never know what's going to stick or not, but that's an important age to really to be attentive as a parent or as a community member. Like that child has an interest in this, that kind of thing. So that's where it was happening for me. And since then, that's been all that that's been my principal, my guiding light, music.
Was your degree here in
Spanish. So languages are languages like my science. That's I've learned some foreign languages, haven't lived around, and find it fascinating. So, yeah, I got a degree in Spanish at UNC. Que bueno. And I also actually, I studied most of my Spanish in Sevilla, in Spain, but I took Japanese classes from Kato Yuko sensei. Great Japanese teacher.
Well, you're also a poet.
I don't know if I'm a poet. I'm a songwriter. I know some poets, and that art there is a difference between songwriting and poetry. I'm surrounded by poets, and I love them, and I'm getting into it. Like that little diatribe in the middle of the song, that was after having spent some time with CJ Suit recently. He was featured, poet laureate of Chapel Hill. He was featured in one of the episodes we did, and I was like, maybe there needs to be a spoken word section, and but I was doing it really fast, and then a couple nights ago we were hanging out, and he was like, just do it slow. And I was like, yeah, now that's sounded better. So it's good. You got to have good counsel, and there's a lot of amazing, and Abigail, my editor and one of my best friends, she is a brilliant poet. So poetry is very important. Words, words, the power of the word, the good word.
Another good word for us to conclude this is vote.
Yeah. Vote. Por favor, voten, amigos, voten.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you,
for
Marcus.
being with us.
It was great. A lot of fun.